What if I told you that the government has never had a scarier enemy than a living oppositionist, but no more reliable ally than a dead martyr? This is not a provocation. This is the story, over and over again, in different countries, in different eras. Executed, they received an icon. They planted it and got a symbol. Banished, they got a myth. And here's a question you've probably never asked yourself. What if the authorities know this? What if sacrifice is a tool, not a mistake? Why does a society that creates martyrs suffer from them? And why do those who are supposed to destroy the idea make it immortal with their own hands? To put it more precisely, why is sacrifice beneficial to the executioner? Not rhetorically, mechanically, functionally. How does it work? Who earns money from it? And, most inconveniently, how do we fit into it ourselves? Because without us, without viewers, without sympathizers, without shared pain, no martyr will take off. Martyrdom is always a spectacle, and always with a full house. The standard logic looks like this. The government is making a mistake. He pushes too hard, goes too far, and as a result, creates a hero out of an ordinary person, a ridiculous oversight of the repressive system. We like this version. The power in it is dumb, and the people are wise. The injustice is obvious. The good will win. History is on the right side. Everything is clear. Everything is cozy. We used to think that martyrs are created by chance, that this is a miscalculation, that if the rulers were smarter, they wouldn't do this. But what if they're smarter than you think? Let's stop here, where the real conversation begins. If martyrdom is a mistake of the authorities, then why is this mistake repeated everywhere and always? In Rome, in the USSR, in Latin America, in the Middle East, in corporate offices. There are too many coincidences for randomness. And the second point, look at what happens after. After the martyr is created, the movement he led splits up. His colleagues begin to argue, what would he like? Who is the real heir? The image of the martyr begins to be appropriated, repainted, used. A live leader is dangerous. He might say something uncomfortable, change the position, make a mistake, agree. Dead is perfect. He's silent. He won't object. His words can be interpreted as you like. So who benefits from the sacrifice? Maybe not just the executioner.
There is such a phenomenon, the martyr effect, or in psychology, reactive reinforcement. When you try to suppress an idea by force, it gets stronger. Forbidden fruit is sweet. It's not a metaphor, it's neuroscience. When a person is being persecuted for their beliefs, the audience's brain automatically considers those beliefs more valuable. If they put you in jail for this, it means it's important. If the government is afraid, then it's true. Add social identification to this. People want to belong to something meaningful. The martyr gives this something. It becomes an assemblage point for those who feel excluded, unfairly deprived, misunderstood. And here's the paradox. The more suffering, the stronger the identification. Harassment does not destroy movement. It cements it, unites through pain. That is why the most enduring religions, parties, and subcultures are those that have survived persecution. Suffering is a brand. The year is 399 BC, Athens. Socrates is accused of corrupting youth and impiety. He's offered a choice, give up his views or die. He chooses death, and this makes his teaching immortal. Before the trial, Socrates was one of many philosophers. After the execution, it is the symbol of freedom of thought for millennia to come. Plato writes an apology. Through him, all Western philosophy receives its first martyr. And now the question is, what have the Athenian authorities achieved? They thought they would shut up an uncomfortable voice. They created the foundation for 2,500 years of philosophical tradition. A mistake? Or did they just not calculate the consequences? And who calculated it? Let's get away from politics. It's too obvious. Let's talk about companies. An employee raises an uncomfortable topic, a security issue, ethical violations, and a toxic culture. He's getting fired. Publicly or quietly, it doesn't matter. What's happening? He becomes a whistleblower. The story goes to the media. Hashtag, signatures, investigation. The company is spending millions on a PR crisis that would be worth pennies if the problem were simply solved. Boeing, Enron, Theranos. In each case, there was a person who said stop. In each case, he was silenced. And in each case, silence was worth more than the truth. The mechanism is the same. The victim amplifies the signal. Suppression is a megaphone. And now, the theory is inconvenient but honest. There is a hypothesis that historians call controlled opposition. The bottom line is simple. Sometimes the government doesn't just accept the presence of a martyr, it creates one. Intentionally or involuntarily directs protest energy in a safe direction. Do you need a national hero? You are welcome. Do you need someone around whom discontent can gather so that it doesn't escalate into something really dangerous? Martyr is a perfect fit. He's busy with himself. He's preoccupied with his victim status. His supporters are grieving, not acting. They're grieving, not organizing. There is emotion, but there is no movement. It is difficult to prove this, but the pattern repeats itself. Too often, the most inconvenient oppositionists turn out to be the most convenient for the existing system. They don't change the power structure. They legitimize it. Look, we have an opposition. It means that we have a democracy. Now, let's get out of politics and take a broader look, because this mechanism is not only about states. Religions are built on martyrs. Christianity is the story of an executed preacher. Islam knows its shaheeds. Every world religion has its first sufferers. Suffering is not a byproduct of faith. This is its core. Ideologies feed on victims. Communism, nationalism, feminism, any ism, they all appeal to historical injustice. We were oppressed, we were being chased. The longer the list of sufferings, the stronger the moral authority. Media monetize pain. The algorithms of YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok are tailored for emotional response. And what causes the maximum response? Suffering, injustice, sacrifice. Content martyrs is a genre. I've been canceled. I've been blocked. I'm being threatened. Views are flying up. The market is trading victimhood. There are entire industries that sell the victim's identity, not because people are bad, but because it works. Victim status gives moral superiority, relieves of responsibility, and collects sympathy and money. And so we come to the most inconvenient thing. Martyrdom has become a strategy, conscious, calculated, saleable. That's where it all fits together. That's where you need to stop and exhale. We started with the question, why does the government create martyrs? And we went to the answer through psychology, history, corporations, and conspiracy theory. But the real answer is not where we were looking for. We were looking for the culprit. We thought, this is the government, it creates martyrs. Or, here is the opposition, it exploits the victim. Or, here are the media, they monetize pain. But the system only works because all three are right at the same time. The government wins. A living oppositionist is dangerous, a dead symbol is manageable. The movement wins. The martyr unites better than any program. The media wins. The tragedy is clicks. A martyr, if he's smart, wins too. He gets a status, a voice, and an audience that he didn't have before. And you and I are winning too. We get a simple story about good and evil. We get someone to root for. We get the meaning. Because modern man is sorely lacking in meaning, and the martyr gives it, is free, immediately, without effort on our part.
We are not the villains in this story. We are a function, a necessary element of the mechanism. Without our sympathy, there is no martyr. Without our indignation, there is no symbol. There is no performance without our participation. Martyrdom is always a collaboration, and every victim has accomplices. We just aren't used to calling ourselves that. And now the real twist. That's what this whole conversation is about. What happens when a martyr knows he is a martyr? When a person consciously goes to a confrontation, not because he cannot help it, but because he understands that harassment will strengthen his voice, prison will give him a platform, death will make his idea immortal. This is no longer a sacrifice, this is a strategist. Gandhi knew that, King knew that, Mandela knew, maybe Navalny knew that too. They were not passive victims, they used the brutality of the system as its weakness. And this is a real coup. Martyrdom is not something that is done to you, it's what you do with what's being done to you. The government thinks it is creating a victim. In fact, she gives a tool to someone who knows how to use it. We live in an era where victim status has become a currency, where suffering is monetized, where each algorithm is trained to look for pain and give it coverage. And in this world, the ability to distinguish a real victim from a strategic one has become a critical skill. Not because all martyrs are manipulators, no, most of them don't, but because your empathy is a resource and there is competition for it, and not everyone who requests it uses it for what they're talking about. The next time you see a martyr, take your time, ask 3 questions. Who benefits from his suffering? What is required of me? And what happens to the movement when the suffering ends? Because real ideas don't die with the martyr, they outlive him, and they're growing. And those that rely only on pain crumble as soon as the pain passes. A martyr is a mirror. He's not showing himself, he shows us. And what we see in this mirror is already our choice.